OpenClaw, the most starred software repository on GitHub, just shipped v2026.4.25. About 120 changes, 6 headline upgrades, and one of the bigger TTS provider expansions the project has ever shipped in a single tag. Azure Speech is now bundled. Xiaomi MiMo is bundled. In-world, Volsenjin, Local CLI, 11 Labs v3, all in. OpenTelemetry coverage now matches the W3C GenAI semantic conventions. The control UI gets PWA install and web push. Plugin startup moves onto a cold persisted registry, so gateway boot stops rescanning manifests. Let's walk through what is actually in this release and what to upgrade for. Quick context for anyone catching up. OpenClaw is a self-hosted TypeScript AI assistant gateway. It connects any large language model to 50-plus messaging platforms, Discord, Slack, WhatsApp, Telegram, Fishu, QQ, and runs autonomous agents on your hardware. Back in March, it overtook React as the most starred software repository on all of GitHub. The current count is over 365,000 stars. The release cadence has been roughly 1 tag per day on the main line. v2026.4.25 is one of those daily tags, but it is not a small one. If you have not opened the OpenClaw repository in a while, this is what it looks like in April 2026. The README is dense, the contributor list is long, and the release tab on the right is a wall of recent tags. The codebase is TypeScript, the runtime is Node, Bun is optional for direct TS execution, and the install vector is npm with a global package called OpenClaw. Channels, providers, and agents are plugins. The plugin set is what most operators tune. That is also where most of this release lives. Most OpenClaw releases tighten 1 or 2 surfaces. A provider here, a doctor probe there. v2026.4.25 is wider. It hits TTS, telemetry, browser automation, plugin loading, install hardening, and the control UI all in one tag. If you operate an OpenClaw gateway in production, or you are about to, there are at least 3 changes in here that affect your runbook. So I want to do this in the order an operator actually cares. TTS first, because it is the most user visible, then the upgrade path, then the diagnostics changes that will reshape your dashboards. Then the smaller hits. TTS is the headline. The release adds 6 new bundled providers and 3 new control surfaces, and the way it changes day-to-day operation is bigger than the changelog makes it sound. The 6 new providers are Azure Speech with native OG Opus voice note output and telephony PCM, Xiaomi MiMo TTS with Opus voice note transcoding, In-world with streaming TTS synthesis, and PCM telephony output, Volsenjin/Byte plus seed speech with API key auth and OG Opus voice notes, a local CLI provider that pipes through any local command line tool, useful if you want to wrap a custom or air-gapped TTS engine, and 11 Labs v3, 11 v3, finally lands in the bundled catalog so you stop pinning a custom model ID. On the control side, a /TTS latest command reads back the most recent reply on demand with duplicate suppression. /TTS chat on /off /default lets you scope auto TTS to a specific chat session, and personas let you pin a provider plus voice combination per agent or per account. The upshot is that voice replies across WhatsApp, Discord, Fishu, QQbot, and the rest of the channel set now have proper per agent voice overrides instead of one global setting fighting with channel config. Upgrading is 3 commands. You install the new package globally, you run Docker with the fix flag, and you refresh the cold plugin registry. Docker handles config migrations and applies them before the gateway restarts. The plugin index path moves from plugins/installed-index.json to plugins/installs.json. That is the new state-managed plugin index path, and Docker will repair any stale registry entries left from previous versions. If you were carrying the OpenClaw disable persisted plugin registry break glass switch, get rid of it. It is now a dated deprecation with a removal window measured in months, not years. After the upgrade, plugins list reads from the cold persisted snapshot by default. Module-aware diagnostics move to plugins, Docker, and plugins inspect. That separation matters. It is what makes gateway bootstop rescanning every plugin manifest on cold start, which on a busy gateway with 30+ installed plugins shaves seconds off every restart. If you run a gateway with observability hooked in, this section is the one. v2026.4.25 emits the W3C GenAI semantic convention metrics in their canonical names. No custom labels, no proprietary span names, just the spec. The token usage histogram is GenA.client.token.usage. The model call latency histogram is GenA.client.operation.duration. The request model attribute is present on every usage event, with a bounded unknown fallback when usage events do not carry a model ID. Provider attributes can flip between the legacy GenAI.system label and the new GenAI.provider.name label by setting otel_semconv_stability_opt_in to GenAI latest experimental. That gives you a clean migration window for downstream Grafana boards. The release also exports OpenClaw.harness.runspans, OpenClaw.context.assembled_spans, OpenClaw.tool.loop_counters, and OpenClaw.exec_spans, all bounded, all low cardinality, all without prompt content, response bodies, or session identifiers. There is also a bundled diagnostics Prometheus plugin with a protected scrape route. If you are rolling your own telemetry shim, this is your cue to delete it. A handful of smaller wins worth flagging. They are individually small, collectively significant. Browser automation gets safer tab URLs and agent responses, a CDP native iframe-aware role, snapshot fallback, cursor clickable detection, target attach preparation, and OpenClaw Browser Doctor with the deep flag for live snapshot probes. There's also an explicit knob to raise CDP readiness timeouts on slower hosts, with Raspberry Pi called out by name in the changelog. The control UI gets PWA install support and web push notifications for gateway chat. That is one less reason to keep a browser tab pinned, waiting for an agent reply. On Android, talk mode is now exposed directly in the voice tab with runtime-owned voice capture modes, and a microphone foreground service escalation so the OS does not throttle background capture. And on macOS, voice wake phrases can now route to a configured agent or a specific session target. VoiceWake gets trigger-based routing through gateway APIs and node update events, which is the kind of change that makes HeyClaw actually useful in a multi-agent setup. If you want the elevator pitch version of this release, the release notes themselves put it pretty cleanly. This is the headline that opens the TTS section, and honestly, it tells you everything you need to know about what kind of tag this is. Wide surface, multiple new providers, real ergonomics work, and one of those releases where every bullet is something an actual operator was waiting for. v2026.4.25 is one of the more substantive OpenClaw tags this month. If you self-host, the upgrade is 3 commands, Doctor will fix what it needs to, and your TTS surface gets 6 new providers worth experimenting with. If you watch OpenTelemetry dashboards, expect new metric names and bounded GenAI semantic convention spans starting today, and plan a migration window for the legacy GenA.system attribute. If you have not opened OpenClaw yet, 365,000 stars worth of community is a pretty solid signal. Star the repo, check your gateway, and see you on the next tag.